Hey, good morning wrestling fans. It might not be morning anymore by the time you watch this video or listen to this podcast, but I recorded it in the morning, so deal with it. This is the weekly High Five presented by HighSchoolWrestlingMatches.com. I'm Kurt Glory Days Claypier, founder of HighSchoolWrestlingMatches.com, and this is the weekly podcast where I highlight the 5 biggest stories in the wrestling world from the previous week. So today is Monday, June 23rd, 2014, and these are the stories that we'll be talking about from last week. So here we go. Number 5, Utah's cadets placed 8th place at the Freestyle National Duels. I've got to give a shout out to my boys in Utah because that is where I'm from, that's where I wrestled, and that's where I currently coach. This was a historical event for Utah because while we had placed as high as 3rd in Greco, Utah's cadets had never placed in the top 8 at the national duels. Now, the team was led by Taylor Lamont of Maple Mountain, who went 16-0, so a great job to Taylor and a great job to Utah. Other great wrestlers at the duels for Utah included Wyatt Coling of Davis High School. He had a great showing as well. Coming in at number 4 in the weekly High Five, we have the front headlock pressure snap. Now, sometimes I'll be highlighting certain wrestling moves that I think are cool or that I think can be effective, and today I wanted to highlight the pressure snap. I wanted to highlight it because it's part of the front headlock series, and in my opinion, the front headlock is the lowest energy takedown there is, or one of the lowest energy takedowns there is, and it's also one of the most common positions that high school and youth wrestlers will find themselves in. So if you don't have a good front headlock, then you're leaving a lot of points on the table. And if they're on the table, then they're not on the scoreboard where you want them to be. So I recommend you check out this video that I posted in the Daily Dose on my website. It's by Daryl Weber. He's teaching the pressure snap. It's a key component to the front headlock series. Great technique to have in your arsenal, so check it out. Coming in at number 3, Marcy Van Dusen, I hope I say her name correctly, is named the USA Wrestling Women's Wrestler of the Year. Marcy has contributed much to the sport of wrestling, and there's a great article about her on themat.com. I recommend you check it out. And at number 2, I mostly chose this one because of the great picture that I found also on themat.com. Spencer Mango is named the USA Wrestling Athlete of the Month. I think he got these honors due to his win over Sam Hazewinkle at the World Team Trials. He's an amazing Greco wrestler, Mango is, and there's an awesome picture of him throwing Hazewinkle on themat.com, and I've also reposted it under the High Five on highschoolwrestlingmatches.com. All right, and coming in this week at number 1, the number 1 wrestling story from last week was the 5 coaches to be canned controversy on Flow Wrestling. Now, if you're a fan of Flow Wrestling, then you probably have listened to Overflow from time to time. And recently on Overflow, they discussed 5 college wrestling coaches who they believe should be fired due to lack of success. And these are coaches who they feel are in situations where they should have more success than they currently have. So the podcast where they talk about the 5 coaches to be canned is not the entertaining part to me, and it's not the reason I chose this. I don't agree nor disagree. In fact, I don't know enough about these programs to have an educated opinion on the subject. But I chose this as the number 1 story because I found it very entertaining, the controversy that this podcast stirred up in the wrestling community, in the national wrestling community. So if you check out the podcast, be sure to not only listen to the podcast, but read all the comments underneath it because you'll be entertained. All right, wrestling fans, that's it for this week's High Five. If you check out my blog post for this week, you will find links to all of these stories so you can read about them in more detail. Simply go to highschoolwrestlingmatches.com, look for the High Five link at the top of the page, and then look for today's date, June 23rd, 2014. This has been Kurt Glory Days Claypier with your weekly High Five. Talk soon.